Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is BK and Dr. Wayne. Here we are.
Hi BK, hi everyone.
And welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. And with that familiar intro, we're going to get going, right? And today, we have moved to a very interesting topic and how to feel complete.
Yes,
It
yes,
almost
how
feels
to.
like we're doing a talk show about relationships and marriage.
Well, I suppose it's a what we talk about can be actually therefore put to for anything. Definitely. So, with life, I think there's about what 4 or 5 major topics that we try to aspire to. One is success in life. One is relationships that you just spoke about, BK. The other one is our spirituality. The other one is our physical being. So there's all these different aspects, but everything that we talk about can be actually applied in any one of those. And of course, what we're talking about with our when we get together is basically how to improve the network marketing industry in terms of our mindset, which is really important. So this is how to feel complete by knowing this universal law. And
Yeah,
this
I
universal,
totally agree with what Dr. Wayne just said because
yeah,
whether it is business, your network marketing career, or even relationships, right? I think a lot of times, I like what one of my mentor was saying that when he was a damage warrior, he kind of attracted a lot of damage warriors, right? And just like a relationship as well, sometimes we always wonder why are we attracting the kind of people that may be with us for a while and then leave after a while, right? But it's and
yeah,
then if you look at it introspectively, you realize that actually you were the one who kind of attracted that kind of person. So I feel that, and over time, of course, I think thankfully over the years have picked up this understanding that a lot of times, whether it's a business or personal life, the more complete I am with myself, the more happy I am with myself, the more at ease with myself, I attract the people that I want to attract in the first place, right?
exactly, yeah, and that's the law of abundance. Basically, that's what we're talking about. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't care what it brings to you. What it brings to you is what you think about most. So if our thoughts are in a negative framework, and a lot of the times we don't even know it's in a negative framework, but that's what we think about. But if we look at our thoughts and then we actually look at that and change that, and this is what we mean by mutable laws, we can actually change that now to actually be more aware. So then to actually start to think positively, then we actually attract positive things into our life and positive people into our lives as well. And that's what I love about understanding this. And this is why we've put it together, haven't we, BK, to try and help people to understand these universal laws. Because what happens is when you understand them, we don't have to do as much in terms of the doing. We still have to do. But when you really grasp this, it's more about if we can really inwardly create the feelings in gratitude of our future, then the future basically knocks on our door. We don't have to go knocking anymore. When you truly get this, when you truly get it, and it's a phenomenon, it really is quite intriguing when you really get into it.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I was I just happened to be sent a video by a friend, and it was by Anthony Hopkins, and he gave a speech for a graduating class of 2020, because 2020 was a challenging year for everybody, right? And so he was saying that, take it from me as an old man, because he's actually 82 at the time of the recording, right?
Wow.
And he said
Yeah.
that, whether you are agnostic or you're a God fearing person, or whatever belief you have, right? He said, just take it from me as an old person who has come by the years. And he said that a lot of times you cannot dismiss the things that we have been talking about, because it just works, right? It
Yeah.
just works.
Yeah.
And he says you just have to believe, you just have to understand, and I think for him, I guess if we interview him for a much longer session, he probably would come to a point where he would say that, maybe at the beginning he was like most of us, or like my case, myself, right? Where this kind of thing sounds a little bit out of this world, esoteric, don't quite understand it. But over time, as you start to gain awareness and when it clicks, then you realize, oh yes, yeah, this actually works, and this actually is how the universe functions. And instead of acting against it, why not we act with it, go with the flow, right?
Yes. And it makes it so much easier. It flows so much better as well.
Yeah, it's like Chinese philosophy. We have this philosophy where, be like water, right? Flow, go with the flow, right?
Yes. So this one is how to feel complete by knowing universal law, which we just chatted about. And just to recap on what we looked at last week, last time we got together was how to have everything you want by knowing this universal law. And that one that we went through was the sixth universal law, called the cause and effect. And we went into that in great detail. And if you want to find what we spoke about, BK, if you want to let everyone know how they can get a hold of that, that'll be great.
Yeah, so once again, if you're joining us for the first time, we've been holding weekly podcasts as well as video cast episodes, right? So if you want to catch the back episodes, because we have been doing this for a while, right? So you can check us out at networkmarketerpodcast.com, and that is at networkmarketerpodcast.com. The beauty of the website is that you have access to all the past episodes, right? As well as you have access to the show notes, which Dr. Wayne has kindly been doing for us every single week. So just check us out at those websites and you'll be able to find the past episodes as well as the show notes.
Show notes, yeah. So the last time we got together was how to have everything you want by knowing this universal law, and that universal law was looking at cause and effect. And of course, all these universal laws, of which there are 7, the underpinning couple of laws that we really need to understand is the law of attraction. But the biggest one, which we've spoken great detail in the past and which we always touch on with every segment, is the law of resistance. I think the law of resistance is the one that we really have to understand, because it's the anchor. It's the one that if we can really understand it and remove the resistances from our being, then what happens is we can collapse time. And that's what we spoke about last time as well, how we can actually collapse time so that our goals and our aspirations can actually come to us a lot faster. So this particular universal law is the 7th universal law, and it's known as the law of gender. And as the law of gender suggests, it's basically looking at the feminine and the masculine energies. So these feminine and masculine energies are in everything on this planet. And once again, it is a mutable law, which means that once we understand it, we can then use it in our favor. So we can use this in our favor. And of course, everything has a gender. Even if you look at plants and minerals and electrons and the magnetic poles, to name a few, everything on planet Earth has both a masculine and a feminine element. In traditional Chinese medicine, this is something that is really well used, and BK might have a couple of things that he can speak about that with from his background as well.
Yeah, I mean, in what we have as a Chinese culture, we have always believed in balance. The universe is in balance, and of course, I guess this concept has been going around for a while. Yin and yang, which basically means the male and the female, or the strong and the weak. That's the concept that we have been having for a while. In fact, I might be wrong, but I kind of remember biology class that says that we all start off as female until a certain point where a switch is flipped. When the genes are activated, then we become the male gender for some of us. I might be wrong, don't quote me on this, but I think I remember something like that. So in every one of us, in a sense, we are definitely balanced in many ways. And
many ways, yeah. So if we look at this and we divide it up, so think of the the outward expression of the feminine are things like love and patience and intuition and gentleness, whereas the masculine energy is more to do with self-reliance and logic and intellect. So and the interesting thing is that within every man is a woman, and with every woman is a man. So we have all this within us, but when we understand this law and we work with it, we can then actually allow our minds to help us to move forward with this. So think of it even with regards to everything in life, therefore has these polar opposites, or left or right, yin and yang, but even the right and left side of the brain. So remember, the masculine is the logic side, whereas the feminine is more, it boosts, it looks at creativity, it boasts creativity. So if we want to look at, for example, looking at creativity, for example, a painter, if someone is a really, really good painter and they're creating and they're doing all their stuff, but they haven't got the logistical side of being able to create a business with this, then what can happen to the person who's a really good painter? Their work doesn't really get out there to the masses. So if we can have both sides of us, then what happens is this can help us enormously. And it's the same even with the network marketer. Like when you've got a prospect in front of you, and if you can feel where that person comes from, whether it be from a logical male perspective or from a more softer side, meaning the female, then you can communicate to that person in a way that's going to help you to understand more about them, and they're going to feel better about themselves because of your communication as well, which is just a fantastic way of moving forward.
Yeah, I suppose in everything, that's why we keep saying that balance is important, right? Because
Yeah.
yes, in certain aspects, you kind of have to be strong and confident about certain things. But sometimes there are certain times where you may need to take a step back and be more empathetic. In fact,
Yeah.
I think I read an article the other day about the top salespeople in the world. They are typically neither the very boisterous, outgoing, very loud, typical kind of car salesman image kind of people, nor are they the very quiet, introverted type of person. Right? In fact, they said that the top salespeople are typically a blend of both, meaning they
Yes.
know how to work on both sides. For simple reason, for example, network marketing. Because we are in the industry, right? Let's take network marketing. If you come across as being too car salesman like, people will kind of they'll feel put off because they feel like you're just trying to get a sale, right? But if you are too soft and gentle, and then you don't ask for the sale, right? Because at a certain point in the sales process, you have to ask for the sale, right? Because it doesn't happen if you don't ask for the sale, right? So that there's a very important need for balance. And I think what I really like about our industry on the whole as of now is that we are becoming more and more professional, especially for any of you who are listening to us for the first time. I know in the past there might have been some negative impressions. We are actually honestly a very young industry in comparison, right? We started more recently than other industries. And so maybe at the start, our industry has been a little bit more aggressive than we should have been, right? But believe you me, that we are getting more and more professional. And I think if you come into this industry right now, especially if you're thinking about it now, you'll come to understand and appreciate that we have spruced up the act a lot. We have upped the ante and in terms of how we do things and so on. So it is becoming an industry that attracts a lot of professionals, especially in our company as well.
Yeah, and I think we've said it a few times. I personally feel it's one of the cleanest industries you can be in. Once you really get a few things right with a network marketing company, the ethos, and there's a number of things that we've gone through before in terms of The ethos is so important to have that at the top, that's for sure. And if the ethos, and looking at the law of gender, if you look at the ethos is more towards egotistical type of, let's go for the money, let's look at how many cars we can get, and let's get the big house and all the rest of it. If we look at the law of agenda, that's more a male agenda, so to speak. But if we look at the feminine side, it's a lot softer. It's more the intuition side and that as well. So when you're looking at the ethos, it's looking at how can we build our network marketing company from ethos, not from a money-driven something that will actually, unfortunately, a lot of the times will destroy a company. So if we can look at it from that angle when we're talking about the law of gender, and when you're going in, especially those people who may be sitting on the fence right now, whether you want to move into one or whether you don't, really look at the ethos. Are they talking about how much money you make, or are they, which is more male, which is fine. Remember, there's no right or wrong in this. It's balance. Once we understand these two sides of the coin, then we can help each one of us, or we can help ourselves, and then we can help our downline and those people around us as well. So is the company coming from a money-driven part of, or mainly money-driven, or is it coming from something that is now driving an ethos in terms of personal development, how we can become better people? By becoming better people, we can then actually attract those people who have those same type of feelings and emotions that are more on the feminine, but at the same time, as BK just mentioned before, and they're using the painter example, if we're really good in the creativity and we're soft and all the rest of it, we still don't ask for the sale, then it can be a challenge because we're not in that balance, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, which is why also sometimes there is this, it's kind of said in jest that painters never get famous in their lifetime. Usually they become famous only when they move on to the other world, and somebody takes over the sale of the, so their genius is only discovered after they die, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I think there's another dimension to what Dr. Wayne has just been sharing with us as well. I think we can look at things from a micro to a macro level, which is what I feel is interesting. So, like for example, for ourselves, if we understand, or when we look at a team member, when you look at your business as a whole, you will definitely find that in your team, there will be people who are more male in terms of characteristics, right?
Yeah.
And then there will be some that will be more female in terms of characteristics, right? So what you want to do as a business is you want to make sure that you can have a nice blend of this in your team, right? Because it is going to be synergistic. And also, we also noticed that typically a lot of very successful network marketing people also operate as a team, meaning husband and wife or partners, right? Because then they kind of play on each other's strengths. One person might be the male side of the business and the other person is the female side of the business. Now, of course, I'm not saying that if you are single, I'm single actually, if you are single, it means that you cannot be successful. It just means that then you may have to be more aware of the fact that you have to play both roles sometimes, right?
Yes,
or you could also go and find a partner in your business, right?
And that's really interesting in terms of business. Like the more times that you can, so think of it like you're by yourself. We'll just talk about that from what BK was saying. Say you are by yourself at this particular time in your life. Then a good idea that I suggest to when I'm looking at a small business, especially when there's only the one person in there, is put your different hats on. So put your male hat on in terms of how do we execute a sale? What do I need to allow that to occur? And then put your feminine hat on, and then basically look at, okay, how do I What can I do? Create an idea. What's a promotion that you can do? So think of creation as the feminine and the execution then as the male side of it. And then you could actually then even go further. You could then go, okay, I'm now the CEO. What have I got to do now to actually bring in more people into my business? Then you might put your marketing hat on and think, okay, so you think of it in two styles. One is, what can I create in the marketing? How do I execute? CEO, how can I create a more dynamic team? How do I then execute that? So think of it like creation and then execution. Okay, so when we think of all the different things that we can do in a business, then we basically put those hats on and then we go around and ask different questions in those zones. And that helps enormously when you're looking at the different aspects of a business, and especially in the network marketing industry.
Yeah, I mean, one of the beauty of our industry, when I share with friends, is that previously what I was doing was mostly what they call the term as a solopreneur. You basically do everything almost on your own, right? That's the solopreneur. And a lot of people it is an up and coming sector of an industry where a lot of people are getting involved and engaged in such a thing, which is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. But what I've been feeling lacking in that area is that there is no team effort, which is why, again, for people, anybody who is listening to us or watching us for the first time and you're considering network marketing as a career or as a business, one of the benefits of this business is that you actually can work as a team. And when you work as a team, like what Dr. Wayne just said, many things can come together. In fact, what I find is that sometimes your team members will give you better ideas for execution, and some of your team members are better executions. I mean, they are better able to execute certain things than you are, right? Maybe you are the creative person, right? And somebody can execute for you, right? Or there are some people who are very creative in the team. And so when you put everybody together, in fact, when you are the leader in your team, basically you're like the conductor in a symphony, right?
Yes.
And in an orchestra, in a symphony, you have in that sense, there's some instruments that are like more male and more female in that sense, right? Some are gentle, some are very hard, like maybe percussions are more male. If I can, I hope I don't offend any musicians here because I'm not one. but that kind of idea, some are more energetic, some are more subtle and gentle. So but when you put them all together, when you can conduct and orchestrate the whole thing together, then that's where you have a lovely piece of music being played. And I think that's what we're trying to do, right?
Yes, yeah. And by allowing ourselves to basically think differently and allowing these different laws to work with us, then it's like gravity. One of the biggest things was the Wright brothers basically come along and said, hey, we can fly, and look at how that has changed everything, meaning we can work with gravity. Before the Wright brothers, we could not work against gravity. It was something that was a force of nature, whereas now we can basically work with it, and we can now go from one part of the world to another. And it's the same with these laws, and the law of gender is one of them. And the interesting thing is, when you want to create something, whatever it may be, the best way to create it is from the unknown. If we create it from the known, what we're typically going to do is create the same end result. So it's got to come from a space that is unknown. And one of the challenges when you go into the unknown, it's going to bring about an emotional challenge. And think of that emotional challenge with creativity and all the rest of it is the female aspect. So that's the emotions bubbling up that is creating this from the unknown, that now you can actually see something differently. But because it's from the unknown, you're going to feel out of whack. You're going to feel different, and you can feel uncomfortable because you've never had these feelings before. And when you work with them, and remembering that's the female aspect, and then what happens is the male aspect will create the plan to allow that to be executed. So a lot of people, unfortunately, when they when they're looking at network marketing, even when you're sitting on the fence, not sure, or even when you're in it, but it's not doing what you want it to do, is because we're trying to create the network marketing industry from what we know as ourselves, okay, which is fine, but we've got to go beyond that and create something that is totally different from the unknown. And when you do that, magical stuff occurs. And this is where we talk about where you can actually literally collapse time. And this is when you know this is happening around you, when you can see the different aspects and you can intertwine them. This is what we mean by how to be complete, how to feel complete by knowing this universal law.
Awesome. And I think with that, Dr. Wayne has nicely wrapped up another episode for us. So once again, if you want to catch our previous episodes, it is at networkmarketerpodcast.com, which is just below if you are watching us on a video. But if you're just hearing us, it's at networkmarketerpodcast.com. And of course, if you want to dive deeper into all these 7 spiritual laws, we have actually done a more in-depth look at this. You can find us at 5, and that's a numerical number 5hiddenreasons.com, where we actually talk about why most network marketers fail and why you do not have to, right? I think just to sum up, one quick idea is that what we hope to do through all these episodes we've been doing is that if we can bring you awareness, like what Dr. Wayne has been sharing, sometimes we do not know what we do not know, right? And once we know what we do not know, that is the first step. But after the first step of knowing what we do not know, the next step is actually fully internalizing and understanding it. And when you get that, something snaps, something goes off in your mind, a light bulb moment, a eureka moment, and everything becomes you will just be in the flow. And that's what we hope for all of you. And if in any way and shape or form you found this podcast episodes or videos useful and beneficial to you, please do us a favor and help us get the word out and share with as many people as you think would benefit from this, because we are on a mission to make the industry a much more professional and a much more pleasant and a great place to be in, a great industry to be in, which we obviously both believe in. So Thank you, Dr. Wayne. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, BK. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.